And I had Mascherano and I think Xabi Alonso sort of treading water to try and catch me.
Everyone remembers when Theo Walcott burst onto the scene as a teenager. The hype around him was insane, and he was hailed as the future of English football.
One that stands out for me, just because I had a lot of a connection with on the football field, would be Cesc Fabregas.
A teenage sensation at Arsenal, and becoming England's youngest ever senior player.
It's one thing I did struggle at times, but maybe people didn't realise when I was playing on the football pitch, because that's when you can really express yourself.
PlayStation took over London for the UEFA Champions League final and invited us to sit down with Theo, live from the PlayStation house. In 2006, Walcott became the youngest ever Arsenal player to appear in a European competition. Walcott reflects on his rapid rise, the setbacks, and his growth on and off the pitch. How did the young prodigy navigate the highs and lows of professional football?
And what I remember about Arsene Wenger was Hi, I'm Theo Walcott, and I'm here to do Perspectives with Rising Borders.
So Theo, we are here at the PlayStation house for the UEFA Champions League final. Which team do you normally play with on EAFC on PlayStation, and why?
So I play as Bayern Munich. Reason being, I love pace in my team, and they got plenty of it. Gnabry I played with at Arsenal. Of course, Sane, who I think is one of the most positive sort of wingers, you know, in the game in this modern sort of era. And Musiala is just, yeah, those three are so quick on the game, and I think game's all about pace these days, so it helps me out definitely. And then you got Harry Kane up front, who I can support now because he plays for Bayern Munich. Yeah.
Yeah. So you like playing with players that play like yourself, basically, pacey wingers.
Yeah, exactly that.
The 05-06 season, you signed for Arsenal. You became England's youngest player. Can you talk us through that time in your life? Have you got any special memories or lessons that you can share with us today from that sort of period?
Yeah, so it was an interesting moment in my life because I came from not much. I was, you know, just a kid starting and playing. All these teams are talking about me joining clubs, and then I get a chance to go to Arsenal at 16 at the time. And the hardest thing about that was just your teammates. I couldn't tell them anything. So trying to keep something in, so exciting, was quite hard.
Yeah.
And then to turn up to training all the time because I was moving to Arsenal, that was quite hard for me to take because I've played with this sort of youth system till this moment. And I couldn't even tell them, one of the biggest things that was happening. And then off the back of that announcement as well, was just a complete shock because, you know, there was elements, I knew Sven was watching training and Arsene sort of prepared me and said, oh, Sven's sort of monitoring the situation of yourself because obviously all the hype and etc. But I think you're good enough to be in England squad. So thanks, putting a 17-year-old a lot of pressure on me then. But I couldn't sort of develop in the background, I had to just be me, really. A lot of people would say, sort of positive things, negative things, and I'm just a kid who never really asked for it, but it come to me and I had no choice. So then to be thrown into that environment, which was, look, I could take it because I was thrown at a young age into the Arsenal Invincible pretty much dressing room at 17, which is quite a big sort of moment and a big thing to take. So I've had to see a lot of things, and then to be in that England team, in that setup, it was actually a lot more comfortable than people would have thought because I had people like Sol Campbell and Ashley Cole already at Arsenal that sort of helped me, and as well Wayne Rooney was very young, could sort of relate to him because of his experiences as well. He helped me out massively, and considering he was young, he was around, he felt like he was the main guy at England. Yeah, I remember a situation when he wants to win at everything, and it always sticks with me. It was a pool game, him and John Terry was at the time, and he lost. He just smashed his cue and he just storms out, and he was like that. He was passionate about anything he did, which I liked. But yeah, it was definitely a moment which was very scary. It was very scary. I was camcording my experiences sort of behind the scenes. It was none of that. So I was recording a lot of things that people still haven't seen to this day, which I've seen, and it's very interesting to see the sort of the excitement and then it sort of might deteriorate because I didn't play. So it's an interesting watch potentially out there in time, we'll see.
When are you going to release that footage?
We'll see. Highest bidder.
Fair enough. How did you cope with the pressure, and what advice do you have for other young players?
Well, it's interesting because it was, you know, things that people don't see in the background. At times, it's important. I would, you know, even to this day now, talk to psychologists very regularly. I think it's important just with mental health in general for anything that you do. But at times, people think, look, it's like a poo-poo it. But I think it's important to continue to sort of talk about anything, even when things are good. I think people can get into sort of a step of just when things are good, that's fine. But no, everything's always not fine, I do believe. I think the sort of, when you talk to people and say, how are you? Like, yeah, I'm fine. Sometimes they're not fine. And I think one of those things I could really take myself away from was when I was playing football. It took my mind off other things that were going on, because at times it was very difficult because, like you say, I've come into the spotlight and didn't ask for it to go to a World Cup 17, and then all the eyes on you and expecting things. And, you know, it comes to a point when you, in your career, when you've been playing for so long and all that pressure, where you feel like you want to take a step away from it now. But I had, some good people around me, and as well, I just, myself growing in that sort of environment, it definitely sort of changed certain elements in me at times. But things happen for a reason, I always believe. So it's one thing I did struggle. I did struggle at times, but maybe people didn't realise when I was playing on the football pitch, because that's when you can really express yourselves instead of actually openly talking to people. So that's the hardest bit. Football is easy. It's just the talking isn't.
What you're doing now, basically.
Exactly that.
Quite interesting seeing like you and Gareth on stage together earlier. I guess you guys could probably relate to each other in that respect, with pressure and scrutiny and stuff like that. Yeah, well, we shared a dressing room. We shared the lodge at Southampton. Like you said, we signed something in the lodge, which may or may not be there now. We had some great times, some interesting memories. We were just we were kids really in a men's game, and Gareth developed slightly different to me. He had a bit more experience going into the lower leagues to come up to rise and to be where he is to this day. An incredible career he had, incredible man as well, and he's not changed. I like his elements of him have changed, but that Gareth that I knew as well is still in there, which is really nice. And we just connect, even though we might not see each other for quite a while. Yeah. It's like we saw each other yesterday. So it's those sort of moments which we'll look back on, and we've got so many stories we'd love to share at some point, I'm sure. Yeah. Arsene Wenger played a big role in your early career. What is your most special memory of working with him?
Do you know, one of them was, I remember Arsene he's never the person, he wasn't a confrontational manager. He's always had time for you on and off the field, and he would just say it how it is as well. He was like a father figure to a lot of the players as well. And what I remember about Arsene Wenger was, when I was injured for pretty much a year with my ACL, just the patience he had for me to get back to a certain level and give me the opportunity to then play the last sort of few games and get into the sort of the thick of it again. And then I played West Brom at home, managed to score a hat-trick in that game. So I've done an absolute headache, but he wanted that. He had Olivier Giroud, who was incredible at the time, and I sort of knocked him off to sort of start and final. It was a big thing for me because that was like we're talking about the things that people don't see, that sort of stint of 11 months for the knee injury, that's the hard bit. Yeah. But Arsene was always there, he's always checking in on me, and I think they're the moments that I always sort of remember, because you can focus on your team, but it's really important to focus if there's players around the place. So he'd always find time for people. That's the bit I like about Arsene.
Are you guys still in regular contact now?
No. No. I saw Arsene actually quite a few months back, to be honest, and Arsenal do. And again, he's just a man he hasn't changed. He always has time for lots of people, and he speaks really well. He really does.
Amazing. You've played with some huge names in your career so far. Who stands out to you and why?
I get asked this question quite a lot, and I probably changed my answer every time because they're that good. The players I play with, like people like Gerrard, Lampard, Rooney, Beckham, Van Persie, Henry. But the one that stands out for me, just because I had a lot of my connection with on the football field, would be Cesc Fabregas. For me, the fact he was like a conductor in the midfield. He really was. Him and Santi Cazorla, but particularly Cesc. I would make runs. And everyone would always used to say he was a fantastic passer of the ball, but I always used to thought I made his balls look good because I was that quick. So, no, but he's very passionate on the football field, and he's someone training day to day, how he sort of handled himself off the field as well. Even what he's doing now to this day, sort of promoting Como, he's a winner, and he's very passionate, and he's hungry to sort of help that next generation. And when I came in, like I say, we related because he's only a few years older than me as well. So I can't thank him enough for that, but he would have to be 100% the best player I played with, yeah.
What young players have impressed you the most in the UEFA Champions League this season, and why?
Goodness me, so Musiala's under 23, is he Musiala? He is under 23. I mean, Jude Bellingham is one that stands out. I think, across the board, because you look at him and you think this is a man in his prime. You think he's like 28, 29, who's established already, but he's only, what, 19, 20. It's incredible. So he would have to stand out, but I would probably have to say Musiala, just because every time I've watched him play, the passion he shows, his awareness, his game management for such a young player, and he's established himself for Germany as well. It's a big sort of move to go out there as well and to sort of show people what you can do, and he's continued that. I'm a big fan of his, because I think he's someone, you look at someone who always wants to do something positive, not afraid to make a mistake, and he go again. And I like players like that. So yeah, Musiala.
Great answer. You made over 70 appearances in the UEFA Champions League. What is your fondest memory of the competition as a player, and why?
My most fondest memory would be, there's a few, like obviously the snippet when I was 19, the Anfield run. We lost the game, but it's always stuck with me when I pretty much ran the length of the field where Steven Gerrard, he had a missed kick, bless him, and then I had Mascherano and I think Xabi Alonso sort of treading water to try and catch me. And the one thing I always used to remember is actually looking back at the commentary and the commentator saying he's got to take him down, he's just got to take a booking. And I'm like, I don't know who that commentator was, but like, so pleased he was wrong, because it's just moments like that you don't really see often. And yeah, I understand the game, you do that, but it takes away that. It's like, don't get me on with VAR, but like takes that away. Anyway, but just setting up Adebayor's goal at the end there when he's doing his little dance, and then not just that, Cesc and Alexander Hleb come over to me just to thank me because I come off the bench in the Champions League. It was quarterfinals. So that would stand out, or the AC Milan away.
I thought you were going to say AC Milan.
Yeah, AC Milan away. I think it was goodness me, was it Maldini? I did something past it, was it Maldini or whoever it was, I can't quite remember, and again set up Adebayor. And that's what I was sort of known for in that sort of era then, coming off the bench, particularly sort of finding my feet in for the Arsenal team. And that probably enhanced me to be a bit more established, that sort of era then, I'd say. So yeah, AC Milan away.
Looking back on your career, are there any mistakes that you made that you're happy to talk about today?
Any mistakes? Goodness me. I always feel like it's interesting because look, people can make mistakes. It's just how you sort of learn from that. And look, like, I remember a manager who used to say to me, is like, when we lose the game, we learn. And mistakes, they happen. Like, if we're talking on pitches, I'd always make a mistake on the football field. I wouldn't be afraid of doing that. I think it's probably, for me, would be the tackle, which caused my ACL. I didn't want to tackle afterwards, so that's probably the biggest mistake. But again, like I say, things happen for a reason. My son was born there and I was there for that. Yeah. So, look, I don't really look at that side of it. I think in time, if I really have a really good think, I'm sure there'll be something, but I don't like to dwell on it. I like to sort of focus on a lot of the positives that have come from maybe a negative, should we just say.
So with young players growing up with both real and virtual football, stuff like EAFC and stuff, how do you think PlayStation and similar platforms can be used to aid their development and understanding of the game?
Now, having PlayStation, particularly when you play the football games, you can see like the spaces on the football field. I mean, even when my son watches football, I mean, attention span at times can sort of deteriorate, which is fine, but he would pick up certain movements, and then when he takes it onto a football field, you're like, I haven't taught you that, but he's seen it. And like I say, the games do help. In short supply at times, you don't want to sort of overwhelm them with loads, but yeah, he's someone that would, I'm just talking to my son, I don't know how other people think, but would then transfer what he's done in the game to the football field. So for me as well, look, at times you're trying to score in a top corner and it happens in the game, you try and do it in real life, it takes you a long time to do this. But I look at the other side of it, the sort of spaces where you can use in the football field, and that side of it really, instead of the goals and the glamour, I suppose. It's the actual players' perspectives on the football field, the movement. It's that I think that players and young children can actually learn from these video games. They really can.
What's the hardest thing about being a footballer that people don't see?
The hardest thing about being a footballer would be, I'd say, if you're, look, there's a lot of pros that come with being a footballer. I mean, everyone's dream is to become a footballer. I get that, I understand that, but to be successful in that as well, which is, I'm very blessed to be successful in that side of it. But it's look, I always have time for people, but it's at times when you're having a meal, or you're just sort of with your family on the beach, or you're with your kids in an environment where you want to be a dad, or you just want to be someone, you're a person still. I think sometimes we can get really excited I understand why you do, but there's a time and place to then sort of approach. And I've had certain instances and times when it's been a bit inappropriate. So that's quite a hard moment to be. I always have time for people, but in an environment, if I'm busy with my children or something, then it's a tricky space to be in. That's the hard bit. Of course, with mobile phones and all that stuff, people can sort of build up to nothing really, you know. So that side of it, and of course the injuries. The injuries is the big one for a lot of players, because it's what people don't see is the other halves. Like from home, they're picking up the pieces. They're seeing the player sort of pretty much injured, and then they have to get back to fitness, and they see the ups and the downs and the lows and the highs and lows, of that person coming back. If they've not really hit a certain level of where they need to be at, it hits them for 6 back home. Yeah. But then you have to put on a face and you come back into the football environment. So that's the side of it where I would say is the hard bit, is outside of the actual football world, should we just say, in your sort of that side. That's the tricky bit, I'd say.
Amazing. Theo, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
No,
Great interview.
cool.
Cut there, guys.
Cool. Cheers, guys.